Right now. I don't drink, but sounds good. Just a minute. We'll be there in a minute. Whoa! We just jumped.
Hey.
I don't know. I was going out here in the airport.
Hear the singers.
Oh shit. Well, that might have been the road I wanted. I want to talk to you guys. I know this is a Freedom from Government channel. I'm posting a post that says something about unresolved trauma and stuff. But the MCO is like the rainbow unicorn. I'm not chasing that. If I wanted to go buy a brand new car, I would make sure I got it, you know, from them. But after the fact, it's already going to be destroyed. So you're probably not going to be able to get it. And it's kind of fruitless chasing as long as you have a properly worded bill of sale. That's the evidence of ownership right there. You don't need to have those mythical unicorns. Okay, with that being said, we're almost to the airport. Hopefully we're not expecting any air traffic today. I'm not going to show you guys my Learjet because I'm not taking any of you to the Space Needle for dinner for a date, so you don't even need to see it. Let's see here. Get this in the background good. Now everybody knows we're at the airport because there's a windsock, right? Yeah. But this lighting situation, oh man, this is not gonna work. Let's go around and see if we can do this a little better. Innovate here a little bit. You guys can't see what I'm doing right now, but it's fun. Okay. There we go. Hey, I think Chris needs to be making his own videos about Book of Life and stuff like that. I mean, if it's the Chris I'm thinking of, I think I went and watched one of his videos and he was listening to some music and like on a Bluetooth speaker that lit up and like uh I don't even know. I couldn't even make sense of that video that I watched of his. But I don't know. It would have been nice if I could have, you know. But it didn't seem like he was very well studied in anything that had any semblance of. It seemed like he was studied in other things, like maybe substance abuse practice or something. I don't know. Um, I have another live stream to you for you today that is pretty important in my opinion. Yeah, yeah. Well, it would have to be the wrong guy. I'm thinking. uh, I remember the other day when I made a video about vulnerability. Yeah, no spell books for real, right? Um, I took some notes back then. It was like a whole book of notes almost. Today I have just this for notes. Um, but this video is probably even more important than that other one about being vulnerable because this one is about unresolved trauma. I don't know. Is it too early for me to be getting into the meat of this yet? You guys have any questions? Oh yeah, that's true, Bonehead. Good point. Hey, thanks. I knew there was a reason why you're a mod in here. Uh, bill of sales, yeah, copy, because you don't want to ever give them the original. Okay, looks like yeah. Uh, all right. Um, Let me start off with a few little things here. Do any of you guys have a chronic sense of fight or flight response? Are you always like agitated? Do you have the run, hide, or freeze feeling all the time that you can't overcome? Do you feel like you're in an invisible jail? You know, where you can't run or hide anywhere, and and you can't escape? Do you suffer from chronic fatigue, or are you always tired? Because if you're always in a sense of fight or flight, that can lead to some fatigue as well. Do you ever have chronic pain? Sometimes it could be medical conditions, but sometimes it's not. And this can include things like back pain, shoulder pain, um, any other areas that you might be feeling pain. Um, those could indicate where you're holding the distress in your body. You know, uh, the mind and the body doesn't they don't separate. Uh, Mental distress leads to physical distress. Chronic pain and depression occurring. Uh, chronic pain and depression are co-symptoms of PTSD. So Mental distress leads to physical distress and vice versa. Have Do you have gastrointestinal problems, distress in your GI tract, like a tummy ache or something? Unresolved trauma, like ulcers, autoimmune issues, IBS, and a child, when you can think of a child sometimes when they say, "Oh, I have a tummy ache." That could be a result of something other than a physical malady, and also headaches and migraines. Do you have chronic headaches and migraines? They can be referred to as tension headaches. Those can also be a source of unresolved trauma. All of these signs are signs of unresolved trauma manifesting in physical ways. So, if you're in fight or flight all the time, uh, sorry, I'm on the wrong page. Um, if you've been diagnosed with a condition like anxiety or depression or some other condition, what what do you think it really is that's holding you back from changing? If you have these issues, and sometimes you don't even have to have these issues, and sometimes you can have things going on and not even know it. But I think what's holding a lot of us back is that we are in a form of trauma based mind control, like all of us to certain degrees, and we're all pretty much all in survival mode. And I think it's something that is in being induced on us. And a lot of us have this tendency to internalize it and say things like, well, what did I do wrong? What could I have done to prevent this? How I feel. And if you can find a way to free yourself from yourself, we can all start doing a little better, I think. Do you Have you ever noticed any kind of sabotaging beliefs that you might have? You know, things where you shoot yourself in the foot all the time, but you can't quite put your finger on how or why it happened. Yeah, people are totally being energy harvested. Um, we have to start thinking in a different way. I think we have to start taking conscious action instead of being victims of our reality. You know, um, our brain, our brain is hardwired to keep us safe, and it's going to subconsciously create the identity that you have had presented to it, and where you have been traumatized into acting the way you do. But what we want to do is we want to create the identity where we are a healthy individual and that our where our goals have already been accomplished and achieved. And that will allow us to dictate our future by what we are manifesting in the present through conscious action. Um, we want to try to mitigate ways to release that trauma from the body that we're holding on to, and you know, find a way to get out of that fight or flight mechanism. And we'll get to that in a minute when I talk about these somatic experiences. But yeah, well, just being able to see it and know that it's happening is a major breakthrough on our part, you know. So I myself have been through some trauma. I can admit it. I even have some blank spots in my childhood where I've blocked, suppressed certain memories and stuff. And I, I really feel like, maybe I didn't have maybe I didn't have a fair, maybe I wasn't dealt a fair hand in life or whatever. But when I think about would I want my life to be any different, I don't think so because I have learned a lot during this life, and it's really the only life I know. So for me to say that would have wanted to live a different life is like it's neither here nor there. You know what I mean? So something else we need to look at. You know, well, those mass shooters are probably staged false flag attacks. Yeah, yeah. Um, so let's look at something else that you may not have thought of, such as are we dealing with trauma when we look at someone and say that they have a learning disability or that this kid's just a bad kid or that he's from a poor upbringing, so that's just what we're going to blame his problems on. I think that if the educators in my school would have known more about trauma and trauma based fear based conditioning and and resolving those issues instead of letting it go unresolved until people are freaking 50 years old, and I'm having to figure this out. You know what? I was upset. Imagine that. But I'm learning that it's okay to experience our feelings. It's okay to feel those feelings because we have to. And when I get further along in this little talking about somatic experiencing, it is like, okay, imagine if you were a coyote, all right, and your parents just killed an animal, and they were eating the animal, and then the animal that they killed, their parent comes and kills your dad because he just killed their kid or whatever. Like that's some trauma right there. But we don't see animals huddling up in their hole, being depressed and anxious and stuff, you know. So what I'm getting at here though now, instead, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but what I'm getting at here right now though is, you know, it's not just that the kid is a bad kid, you know, or that he has a learning disability or a and I don't approve of what may be happening. I'm moving the van a little bit so that I can try to get better reception, better signal. Yeah. Well, there's been lots of kids that have grown up in a household where maybe the parents were alcoholics or something. And yeah, I know it was a bad example. I was just trying to come up with a good example. But like there's lots of traumatic things that happen in the wild. Anyway, um, yeah. Anyway, my point that I was trying to get at is how would education be different if trauma was actually taken into account instead of just labeling kids, bad kid, or like, you know, no, this one has a learning disability. Never thinking to address the actual trauma that they might have gone through. And this is actually a big deal because kids when they grow up, some of them have been through such trauma that they've blocked out such so much of their lives. They have to relearn math and English, and it's just crazy. Um, but how would education be different if trauma was actually taken into account? You know, if we could hold ourselves, if we could actually address the real problem instead of symptoms or labeling kids as just defective. You know, I know myself. I was in the principal's office constantly, you know, and back then they had corporal punishment, which means they would actually physically hit you with the paddleboard. And I think I remember them even telling me to take down my pants and stuff to do it. It's like, really? Like, they really used to do that, you know? And that in itself is extremely traumatic. Yeah, yeah. My dad used to beat me with the belt buckle. Yeah. He broke sticks on me. You know, I don't really want to talk about too much of this because I don't want to like put him in a sensitive position either. But I've been there, I've done that, and now I'm healing and I'm learning to resolve this stuff. And I'm realizing now that I'm like towards the end of my life that if I would have done something about this, and it's real simple, you know, if I would have done something about this a long time ago, I would have been able to do so much more, you know, with my life. So, yep, exactly. Me too. Yeah. I didn't graduate high school either, you know, but I did graduate college. But that's because that's what I was ready for that when I did it, you know. So, so what I really want to get, the point I really want to make during this stream is that if you're living with trauma or some other type of health issue, mental health issue, do not dismiss them. If you know someone that is dealing with a mental health issue, do not dismiss them. Sorry. I want to tell you to do not dismiss anyone as just being mentally ill or bad or dumb or look at them as any less than a human being like you. Look at who they are and what's going on in their life. And the reason that they're acting the way they are, where did it come from, you know? And no reason to come down hard on people because they were homeless or because they were previously incarcerated. Sorry, I'm having trouble. All I'm saying is to recognize their value. And it's so interesting because there's this, you know, people have different kinds of trauma and it can manifest in different ways. And it's so strange. I mean, it's really interesting because I can see where people have trauma based on what they are blind to or based on what they are not able to see. It's so weird. I had this, you know, I was upset because my birthday came in March 5th and I felt like I got stood up. But I think really I got the best birthday gift ever from that experience. So, back to my point. You can tell where the trauma is originating based on how people deal with it, what their blind spot is. For example, there was someone who never wanted to go out to a restaurant, and they didn't know why, but they associated a trauma with the restaurant without even knowing it, without even being able to see it. And as it turns out, they had an intense response and a blind physiological response because they were at a restaurant when their parents told them that they were going to divorce, you know? So we can't just judge people because they're doing something wrong. And it's really hard if someone's in denial. It is super hard to get them to see what they're doing. But we need to try, and we need to care about people. Don't ever say that, Libra, that you were put on probation. I just talked about that in yesterday's live stream. We don't get put on probation. We agreed to be on probation every time. So don't you ever think that you have to be on probation. You know, that is an agreement. That is a contract. So let me see. I have a few more little notes. Oh yes, the somatic experience therapy, which can help us. What we have to do is we have to realize trauma is going to happen. All right? Trauma-based mind control is going to happen. And they're totally using you. And you guys are just like lab rats playing along with it. We all need to stop. This trauma-based mind control is easily solved with somatic experience therapy. Basically, what we do is we find ways to cope with our emotions and with our trauma. And we think of it like wild animals, you know? When you stress out your dog, you know, how do they cope with it? I know when my dogs are stressed, Patches especially, she likes to yawn. She yawns to deal with the anxiety. And other animals will shake to deal with anxiety or pain. We can look into other therapies such as grounding, looking at where we have the cognitive disassociations or where we distract ourselves. Like a good example of that is someone tried to apologize to me, and I didn't want to accept the apology because I felt like them apologizing was just a free license for them to do things wrong, and then an apology would always fix it. So I said, don't apologize to me. What I'd rather you did is learn not to cause the things that you're having to apologize for. And instantly it got shifted, blame shifted, right, all over the place. But the thing is, we need to care about each other. And none of us are better than one another. Yeah, that could be a sign of some sort of trauma. I'm not going to say I can't say what it is, but animals have a way of dealing with trauma, and we could learn a lot from them because they do see some traumatic things in the wild. You know, like a zebra family getting attacked by a tiger. You know, if you were your brother zebra just got torn apart by a tiger, wouldn't that be traumatic for you to experience and witness? But the wild animals have a way of coping with their psychological symptoms. So, and that is by fully experiencing the trauma and you know, resolving it. And it goes, it's like the credit system. It's so crazy. We just have to discharge. We have to discharge these emotions and live through them. And and get through our trauma-based mind control. So, just like Taylor Swift says, shake it off. We got to shake it off. And we got to fully experience all of our emotions and not keep them bottled up, not keep them all in your shoulder so you have shoulder pain or bunched up in your back. Even me making a live stream like this where I'm talking about them is helping me. Yeah, my dogs are really good girls too. And I would never want to hurt them or have them be traumatized or anything. But we can learn from them because they know how to deal with trauma, you know? So I think that's like 35 minutes off of my, like, it's one full page of notes today. And that's weird because I got like 30 minutes off of my whole notebook of notes. I think the difference is because I'm not reading something, I'm kind of formulating a dynamic thought process along with just some real brief notes that I've jotted down. But I think this is going to conclude today's episode about unresolved trauma. And I'm really happy that you guys were able to join me. And, let's just treat each other like we want to be treated, is what I'm thinking. You know, um, I love all you guys, and I hope that you guys are able to be healthy. I want to be healthy, and so should you. We need to be healthy because we are in the middle of some deep crap right now. We need to be healthy, and we need to be there for each other. And that's why I'm here for you. So thank you. Thank you so much. I love you. And peace out.